Hello, my name is Zainab, and I am a student with Trinity Oral History Project. And thank you so much for agreeing to talk to me today.
Hi,
Um,
no problem.
hey, we expect our conversation to last about like 25 to 30 minutes. And yes, this will be recorded for my oral history project again. And yeah, let me know if I'll need a break at any point.
Okay.
Can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Gonzalez, and I'm sorry, what do you want to know what I do, what year I attended? If you can just give me what am I?
Yeah, I'm sorry. To start with, can you tell me when and where you were born and whether you grew up there?
Okay. So my name is Jessica Gonzalez. I go by Jess Gonzalez. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and I was born in wow, 1989.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
So what do you remember about the home you were raised in, and how would you describe your childhood and teenage years?
Um, well, I grew up in an apartment, a three-bedroom, very small. I remember enjoying going to the pier, which is the East River in New York. Um, and those were fun times for me, before all the gentrification took over and took away those sites and remodeled them. It was a fun time to, hang out. It was a very, I remember more Latino and um, African American population in my area. It's very different now. A lot of the folks that I grew up with are no longer there. They've long since moved. But I remember I had clear view to the city, to Manhattan, and it was great. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, as a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? When you grew up, and can
Um,
you like paint a picture of that?
okay. So as a kid, I wanted to fly. So I had a dream of becoming a professional pilot. Um, I remember it was ninth grade, because my middle school went up to the ninth grade. They used to have junior high schools that went up to ninth grade. And I remember being in ninth grade in my English class, and we were supposed to write letters to ourselves and then read 10 years later. And I remember writing that I wanted to be a pilot. I even applied to high school for aerospace engineering. I got in, but I had to transfer because of the commute. My mom didn't want me commuting so far. So for a long time, for a very long time, aviation was my dream. Then when I went off to college, for undergrad, I attended a school that was known in Long Island, known for having a really good commercial pilot program. And I did it for a year, but then that was the 2007, 2008 recession. So I could not afford to pay a regular school tuition on top of that, an aviation school tuition. So I got a few hours in, but had to put a pin in that dream and pivot into education, where I pursued a degree in special education, in foreign language, Spanish and French. But yeah, my dream was to be a pilot. And till this day, I still am holding on to it. And one day I know I will at least get my private pilot license.
Thank you for sharing.
Mm.
Um, how did those early experiences shape you?
It definitely allowing me to dream and envision myself in a position that I never saw. Like, I didn't know of any other female pilots. And whenever I would share I wanted to be a pilot, folks would try to correct me and be like, yeah, like the stewardess. I'm like, no, I'm not trying to serve the people. I'm trying to fly the people to their destination. So it was, it definitely fed into my belief that if you can dream it, you can do it. It all just takes determination, willpower, and of course, money. But starting with the desire of like the willpower to do something, to step into something, even though you've never seen anyone who like looks like you, let alone the same gender in that field. And now, I mean, it's taken off a lot where there are more women in aviation, but it wasn't something that even my own family like could understand. I had to constantly correct folks like, no, no, I'm not trying to be a steward, there's a flight attendant. I want to be the pilot. So it gave me a lot of courage and determination to step into a field that didn't have much representation, and it allowed me to like at least envision myself in that.
Yeah. Okay. What do you do now?
I am so I Like I shared earlier, I couldn't afford to finish my professional pilot career, so I had to pivot, and I entered education. I was a special education teacher for 7 years. Then I was a special education coordinator for 3. I helped open up a school in DC, a Montessori school, the first public Montessori school in DC. It was really cool being part of that funding founding team. And now I am the director of a program called Inclusive DC at a nonprofit called School Talk. So still in the education realm, still serving students with disabilities.
And if you had a chance to now, and if you had a chance now to l live your childhood dream,
Mhm.
would you take that chance?
In a heartbeat. I love to travel. So even though I did not get to be the person flying the plane, I at least got to travel abroad with students. So while I was an educator in DCPS, I got to take students to many countries around the world. So Senegal, Nicaragua, Panama, Cuba, um, where else? I'm blanking. Argentina. I got to see the world, not from a cockpit, but from a window seat. And it was really cool because as a kid, I dreamt of traveling. So to bring the dream of travel to students at such an early age was amazing. And it for me was a full circle moment to still feed into that desire to see the world, but also share that with young people who also have that desire to learn and explore and just get out there. So in a heartbeat, I would do it. If the chance came up and the funds were in place, I would totally get back to it.
What country would you want to travel to right now?
Right now, in this moment, well, I made my vision board for 2025 and I have Japan, Switzerland, and Italy. Those are my top 3.
Yes. Um, so we're gonna pivot into why Trinity? What brought you to Trinity University?
So like I shared, when I was teaching, around year 5 of teaching, I started to feel like it was time to pivot. I didn't get my master's immediately because I wanted to figure out what was it that I wanted to do, what was my next step. So it finally came to me in year 5 where I was like, maybe I can get into leadership. So in researching um, and looking up what was around, what could I afford, Trinity was my top option, my top choice, top option. And at first I thought it was just uh the population was only for females, but then it was just that the grad program was for women. The grad program was co-ed, so that was really cool. It was very close to home. It was very easy to get to. It was accessible, and the price was right. So, and they offered a really good program, and also some of my lead admin were had received their degrees from Trinity and were spoke very highly of the program. So it was like it checked the boxes. So I went, I liked it, and I met one of my really, really good friends there, and we've been friends since.
How much did you learn about Trinity's history? Because I know you talk about learning from it from some of your
Yeah,
friends.
some of my colleagues who attended, I didn't know much other than the research that I did, knowing that it was mainly historically it was a women's college. It was I think the first nursing program for women, all women. Um, I could have done a better job at learning the history, but I did like that. It was just in the center, and it was in the center, and it was very accessible. Um, yeah, I didn't, outside of like the very basic information. And oh, Nancy Pelosi was a graduate. I remember that.
Mm. Um, how well did your high school prepare you for Trinity's academics and community?
I'm sorry.
How well did your high school prepare you for Trinity's academics and community?
Well, because I attended undergrad at another school first, undergrad prepared me for Trinity's grad school demand. Definitely time management, and just being able to produce what like the level of work you needed for that level degree. Um, I some time had passed, so a good 5 to 6 years had passed since I last stepped into a student focused role. It was hard. But once we got going, I got into a rhythm and routine, and I remembered again, like, hey, you have to be very like, this is a time that's allocated for schoolwork. This is when we're meeting at the library, like using the resources, being aware. There were times that I stayed at Trinity late hours to get my work done. So it came back to me the things that I would do in undergrad to get through the coursework.
Talking about Trinity's history, how well, how was it for you here on campus with, being surrounded by all women?
Well, again, I attended grad school, which was the co-ed side of Trinity. So I didn't get to experience just a all women classroom, although the majority of the classes that I took were majority women in there. But that's also the education space. There's more women in education, very few men representation. But overall, like I want to say that the friends that I made, I there's one girl, her name is Shakila, and she that's my rock. Like that, I can call her my best friend. I didn't think that I was gonna walk out of here with such a close knit friendship. Um, so much so that we traveled together, we cried together, we struggled together, we got through the coursework together. I met my accountant. He was a student in my cohort, and he was also pursuing a degree in admin leadership, and he was also an accountant, and that's who I trust with my taxes. So I I met really cool people, people that I keep really close to in my life and who have access to some deep information. So it was good.
good. Did you experience any challenges as a woman of color?
Um, no, because it was a community of folks of color, so I felt very comfortable. I felt seen. I felt there was a lot of relatable experiences. I enjoyed my professors. Um, so it this was a very different experience versus my undergrad, which was a POW. Um, yeah, it was almost all white institution. So my undergrad experience was a lot. That was a bigger culture shock for me than Trinity. Trinity felt familiar. Trinity had people that looked like me, were doing, pursuing similar career aspirations. So it felt it felt good.
Did you have a mentor or role model at Trinity who inspired you?
One of my professors, we would call her not to her face, but my friend Shaquille and I would call her Auntie Janie, but that was Professor Talbert. I just loved how she carried herself. And just the way she dressed, how she carried herself, and the grace that she gave us all, especially me, with my struggles towards the end, trying to get my binder together, my portfolio for our evaluation at the end. She was awesome. So, and she would check in on us and gave us her contact. So we were able to maintain communication with her. Indirectly, she was my mentor, and I appreciated her support. I also want to say the support from Dr. Williams. I've been called back to Trinity to like speak at events, talk to incoming class cohorts, and I was also selected for a presentation for a forum. I forget what it was called, but um, it was really cool. One of my papers was selected to be highlighted in that forum. So I had some good folks looking out for me.
Can you tell me about one or two historical events that took place while you were at Trinity,
I was
if
on
any?
maternity for 2 years, and I cannot remember any historical events. Um, I mean, outside of Trinity, when Trump got into office for the first time, that was traumatic. Okay. Um, yeah, outside of Trinity, but inside, I don't think, yeah, I don't remember any like major historic events happening at Trinity.
What about like any classes that left like a lasting impact?
Um, I did enjoy the budget class, even though I struggled. But it is such an important piece, and I feel like so many more of us Black and brown folks need to be in those spaces where financial decisions are being made, and having the background in finances, or at least a glimpse in it, understanding how it works, um, can help in the decisions that are being made where many of us are not present. So that finance class was kicked my butt, but it was good. It was good.
So, what did you do after graduating Trinity? What
After
was
I
the first thing
graduated,
you did?
the first thing I did, my family and I, we went to eat. Um, that was 2019. I was also training for the New York City Marathon. So Trinity, I remember in orientation, they told us, um, take some time to go on a walk to clear your mind. They really, there was a big emphasis on mental health. So through that, that really stuck to me. So I, even to this day, I have a blocked time on my calendar that says wellness hour, and I go on a walk. and I sometimes hold meetings on a walk. So that was something that really stuck with me. Um, what I immediately did after, my friend Shaquille and I, we went on vacation. I think we went to Curacao. It was amazing.
Um, of your professional accomplishments,
hmm
which are you most proud of?
Definitely getting my degree and finishing. Like, I don't think people talk about how hard it is to go back to school after you finish the first time. So finishing undergrad and then taking, starting work, and then going back as a professional. It is hard to balance your life, your work, and then schoolwork. So my biggest accomplishment, yes, was getting my master's, but then using that to leverage my professional growth. So after I got that, I had a colleague reach out and offer me a position and said, "Hey, do you want to come be part of the founding team for this school?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, if y'all can pay me this, I'll be there." So it just felt nice to be known and recognized and have folks know that, oh, she went through that program. We know she's legit. So that felt really good to know that my next professional offer was, I didn't technically have to interview. It was just like, hey, we know you got this. You want to join us? I was like, yeah.
And based on what you've accomplished so far, and I'm sure you're going to accomplish much more, what kind of legacy do you hope to leave behind?
What legacy I hope to leave is do the hard thing. School is hard, but it definitely opens up doors. Um, and like really just go after your dream. Um, Even though my focus right now has been education based, bringing it back to like travel, like it has allowed me to travel and see so much. Even though I didn't get to fly the plane, I still got to travel with people, with students, with friends that I met in these educational spaces. I still was able to tap into that dream of travel. So even though a dream may not unfold the way you thought it would, it is nice to know that you can still fulfill it another way. So my legacy would be like, hey, follow your dream, even though the path may not seem like it's going in the direction you thought it would, it is still leading you, like still fulfilling that desire within your soul to see the world or accomplish whatever it is that you have set for yourself. So be open to the possibility. That is my legacy. Be open to the possibility.
And what do you want other young women who are on the same path or possibly a different path from you, what do you want them to know about Trinity and and the stories and values that are untold?
It is really good to be part of an institution that has such a rich history and to like really network and leverage the the folks who have walked through those hallways. Um, Talk to people, connect with people, be open to the potential and the possibility of, what these corridors hold.
And what is one vital piece of advice you would give to today's and tomorrow's Trinity students?
Vital advice is stick to it. Go for that walk. Uh, Use that facility. Go for a swim. But definitely tap into your resources. There's some great folks, some great staff at Trinity who are here to see you succeed. So don't be afraid to ask and speak out and reach out. We're all human. And I definitely learned that when there were times that I was ready to tap out. I'm like, nah, I can't do this. There were people who saying, no, you got this. You're so close. There were people who granted me so much grace, and were willing to understand and see past the challenge that I was going through. So
And that wraps up my question. Thank you so much for sharing your memories and your insights.
No
And
problem.
is there anything you'd be willing to add that I haven't asked?
Um, so I do want to share, I moved to DC in 2013. So I've never lived anywhere else outside of New York. So coming to DC to a new city, it was very different. Especially from coming from New York, um, where everything is so fast paced. It was just nice to come to a city that's still fast paced, but not as fast where you felt like you were drowning. So I was very happy to go to an institution that I felt people looked like me, I could be seen, understood. It just felt nice. Even though this wasn't home, it felt like home. It is home now.
Right, thank you so much.
Thank
And I
you.
appreciate your patience with me since this is like my first time doing this. Thank you so much.
No problem. Sorry, I was a little off or whatever, but I hope you